Okay, so for law of cosines, we have 3 versions of the same thing. We know we're going to use law of cosines because we don't have any angles in this triangle in this problem. None of the angles are given, so we cannot use law of sines. I always prefer to use law of sines if I can, but if there's no angle given, I can't because there's not a ratio. So I'm going to find angle A. So since A is what I'm looking for, I'm going to use the top one where the side A is by itself. So I'm going to use A squared equals B squared plus C squared. Thank you. Minus 2 BC cosine angle A. So I'm going to use that version since I'm looking for an A. Anytime you use a formula, I highly recommend blank parentheses and filling in the numbers, filling in the blanks. So blank squared equals blank squared plus blank squared minus 2 blank times blank cosine A. And then go through and fill them in. A, I have A. A is 6. B is 24. I know that letter is the same as the multiplication step, first letter. They're going to be the same, so 24 again. C is 20. So C is 20. See, on the right hand side, it's A equals BC, BC. So BC, BC. Then simplify where you can simplify. So I know 6 squared is 36. 6 times 6 is 36. Equals, and I can simplify the addition part. Because of order of operations, when I get to this negative sign, I have to stop because this is multiplication over here. So I can't just do anywhere I see numbers, type it in my calculator. It won't work like that. You have to follow order of operations. So 24 squared plus 20 squared, type it in the calculator, that's 976. And then I have minus 2 times 24 times 20. So I could do that. What color was I using? And that gives me negative 960. And I still have this cosine A. And you cannot subtract right there because this is negative 960 times cosine A. All right, so then I can start solving. I've simplified. That's all I can simplify. Now I'm going to start solving. So I have 976. I can subtract that. So I have negative 940 equals negative 960 cosine A. Because remember, I'm trying to get A by itself, so I need to get cosine A by itself. I have negative 960 times cosine A. So I'm going to divide by negative 960. Now on the left, I don't really need to simplify my fraction, but this, this, I'm dividing. It's negative 960 times cosine A. So I'm dividing by negative 960. You're good. And then I have negative over negative. So I do want to simplify that. Negative over negative. Because we don't want to leave it like that. But I'm not going to worry about the numerical part of the fraction. Whatever it is, leave it. Yeah, I could simplify that, but I don't care. You'll see why in a minute. So now I have 940 over 960 equals cosine A. So I'm very close to getting A by itself. How do I get A outside of the cosine? Mm-hmm. How do you do that?
Inverse cosine.
Inverse, yes, inverse. When you're solving for the angle, you use inverse cosine. So cosine, inverse cosine of the ratio 940 over 960 equals angle A. That's why I don't care what that fraction looks like, because I'm just going to type in the calculator and it will be happy to do it for me. So I calculate that, it gives me 11.71. But this is an angle, so we want our angles as whole numbers, so 12 degrees. Make your angles whole numbers. So find angle A is 12 degrees. All right, so I have one more. All right, so that was law of cosines. First we did law of sines. Are we able to get this? Now we need to do one more example. What if you aren't told if it's law of sines or law of cosines? You just said, here, solve the triangle. Then what would you do? How would you know? You do care.
No, I can't.
You can, but you have to figure it out like when. So we have triangle ABC. Oh, sorry. Thank you. A, B, C. And we have side A equals 5. Angle C is 65 degrees. This is the given triangle. B equals 8. All right. So the best way, in my opinion, to figure out what you can work with or what you have to work with, which law you're going to use, is make a little chart or just list what you have, right? Make a list of what you have. We have side A, B, C. Angle A, B, C. What do we have? We have side B. I can fill that in as 8. I have side A is 5. I can fill that in. I have angle C is 65 degrees. That's all I have. I like to look to see, can I do law of sines? Because if I can do law of sines, I would prefer to do that over law of cosines. It's just simpler. To do law of sines, I need a ratio, right, of a side over its angle, over the sine of its angle. So you have to have an angle and side pair. Do we have an angle and side pair? No. So we cannot do law of sines. So if we had side C, we could do law of sines. So let's find side C. So first, I'm going to use law of cosines to find C. So I'm going to use the version C squared equals A squared plus B squared minus 2AB cosine C. Remember I said fill in all the blanks. So I'm going to do C squared equals blank squared plus blank squared minus 2 blank blank cosine. I have, see, ooh, I'm running out of room. Let's see. So I can fill those in. A was 5. 5. B is 8. 8. 8. Angle C is 65 degrees. So 65 degrees. So go through, fill in the blanks with what you have. That one looks a lot better though, doesn't it? Because if I'm solving for a side length C, I'm solving for this piece here. It's pretty close to being by itself already, just not quite, right? This is C squared, and I want C. So if I wanted to get rid of squared, I would just take the square root. And square root squared, they're inverse operations, so they undo each other. If I do it on the left, I have to do it on the right. Now, yes, you can type it in just like that. That's fine. There's a lot of room to make a button error on your calculator if you type it in like that. So I would probably simplify it a little bit. Just a little bit. So I'm going to take this and write it as C equals, and it is going to be the square root of, but I'm going to take the addition part and type in my calculator 5 squared plus 8 squared. That's 89. And then I'm going to type in the first multiplication part. Negative 2 times 5 times 8. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. Negative 10 times 8 is negative 80. So I didn't even need a calculator, but that's fine. You can use a calculator if you want. And then I also have cosine 65. So you do have to remember the cosine is attached to whatever number's in front of it. So don't do 89 minus 80. You can't do that. Stop simplifying here. Okay, and that is a lot less to type in the calculator, but we didn't do a lot of work to get there. So then you type it in the calculator and it tells you that C equals 7.429. So that law of cosines was really not that bad. Solving the angle that we did on the others before, that was a little worse. 7.429. And now we have a pair that we can do a ratio. So whenever we find A or B, it doesn't matter which I'm going to do A, just because I already have the work done for it. So my second step then is to use law of sines to find angle A. And since I have this C set, so since I'm looking for A, I'm going to do A over sine A. So A, which is 5, over sine A is equal to the C value, 7.429, over sine C, sine 65 degrees. And then I can cross multiply. So I have 5 sine 65 equals 7.429 sine A, and then divide by the 7.429. So 5 sine 65 over 7.429 equals sine of A. And now I can do the inverse trig. Sine inverse of all of this, of 5 sine 65 over 7.429 equals A. So A equals 37.588. And we want a whole number for an angle. So angle A equals 38 degrees. We're so close to being done with this problem. There's 38. So 38 degrees. How can I find the last angle?
180
180 minus. So I could say third step, all triangles have a sum of 180 degrees. Subtract the known 65 degrees. Subtract the known 38 degrees. So I find out 77 degrees equals B. And we're done. Yay, so much fun.